So, in my experience, most barbers don't really understand what it means to be fully booked. And they think and they tell me that they want to make more money, but their actions don't really line up with that, or they really don't understand what the cost of being a busy, fully booked barber means. What I usually see happening is that barbers end up getting to a point where they are making just enough money to be comfortable, and then they kind of coast. And the reality, and then when they get beyond the point of where they're comfortable, they may start to regret putting so much work in to actually become fully booked. Now, this is, I don't know how common this is in our industry. I see this in our barbershop, I see this in other barbershops, but I think that most people think that they want to be really busy and be booked all the time, but they don't understand what that actually means. So in this video, I want to cover what it actually means to end up fully booked. We'll go over the pros and we'll go over some of the cons, and hopefully you walk away with understanding, like, if do I actually want to be fully booked? Because if you don't, at least you can figure that out ahead of time and make a plan for your career so that you can have a long, healthy career, and in a way where you're happy to go to work. Okay? Because none of us wants to dread going to work. We want to, if we're going to do something for 40 hours plus a week, then it should at least be something that we enjoy. So first, let's define busy. So what I mean by busy is, let's say you have a set number of hours on your schedule, right? Whatever it is. And you are at least 80% plus booked for the whole week, not just Friday and Saturday, but consistently. So every day you're at the shop, you are 80+% booked. I think 80 is like, anything beyond that is like, in my opinion, like unsustainably busy, right? So 80% means that you have maybe a couple gaps in your schedule, maybe you had a couple last minute cancellations or no shows, and then 100% would be there's zero gaps on your schedule, and that's every single day. So everybody says that they want to be busy, but the reality is you actually are 100% booked, even 90% booked. There's going to be some things that come with that that you might not have expected. And some people get there and they actually end up regretting it. So I wanted to cover some of the pros and cons of actually being like a busy barber. So we'll start with some of the pros. Obviously, one of the main benefits of being a busy barber is that you're going to be making really good money, right? So if you're consistently busy, it doesn't really matter what the pay structure is, whether you're booth rent, commission, hourly. The more clients you see, the more money you will make. And that's true no matter what the business model is. So if you're consistently busy, 80+% booked, you're going to be making at least more than when you were not busy, right? And I can pretty much guarantee that. So that means that money hopefully will no longer be an issue for you. You can make as you're making enough to cover all your bills and have some left over, and life is good in terms of finances, right? A couple of the other things that can be pros when it comes to being busy is that some people might not realize is that you actually have a little bit more flexibility in your schedule in terms of the days that you can work. If you have high retention, meaning that a majority, 80+% or maybe 70+% of clients that come to you are coming back, I would consider that relatively high or pretty good retention. So if that's the case and you're keeping a majority of the clients that come to you, they're loyal and they won't trust anybody else with their hair. We found that you can almost work like any day you want at that point. So that's one of the greatest advantages of being a busy barber, is that in the future, if you're fully booked, right, and you're consistently busy and you're retaining clients, maybe you don't have to work weekends anymore, right? Because if the clients are loyal and you have enough of them, you may decide, I don't want to work weekends anymore. And you can shift your schedule. That can happen. And a majority of the clients will start just coming on whatever days you work. And that's just the benefit of being busy, because you've built up such a reputation and such a good following that you don't have to work on the days where the shop is busy, right? Because you're busy, so you're going to be busy no matter what days you work. So that's one of the things that we found in our barbershop. The barbers that have the highest retention and that are staying consistently busy, they don't have to work weekends if they don't want to, right? So they can come in and work, Tuesday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, right? And they will be busy, right? It takes a little bit of time to adjust for the clients to adjust to your new schedule, and you probably will lose some clients in the transition because maybe Saturday was the only day that could come, right? But because you are retaining a majority of your clients and you will replace them with new clients and keep them, then you will build back up. And now all of a sudden you're staying busy and you don't even have to work weekends anymore. Another one of the benefits, this is pretty cool about being a really booked, busy barber and you're retaining clients, is that you can actually start to choose which types of clients you want to work with. So, for example, I've done this before. So, if I'm really busy and I'm booked months in advance, which I've done this, I have like a new client that somehow by some miracle ends up on my schedule because as a busy barber, that's kind of a pro bonus to being busy. But as a busy barber, you're probably not going to be getting a whole lot of new clients because if your existing clients are booking their appointments in advance or you're booking it for them, that's going to leave less room for new clients. And I don't know about you, but I would prefer that most of my schedule be like repeat clients because the consultation is shorter. It's just like same thing as last time. Did you want to change anything up? Pick right back up where you started. You can really develop that relationship and keep it going with existing clients. Whereas with new clients, the consultation's longer. They tend to be more difficult. They might show up late. And it just in general, a little bit harder to retain a new client than an existing client. So, but when it comes to being busy and how you can pick and choose which clients you want to work with, when you get to a certain point, I think you have to get really good at rebooking because if you're really busy, it can actually hurt your retention if you don't try to set up your client's next appointment for them before they leave. We call that rebooking. And if you get really good at that, then you're going to start to get booked weeks out, months out. And so if you have a really difficult client, right? Or, for whatever reason, you'd prefer it if they would go to somebody else next time. Maybe you weren't good with that particular hairstyle. Maybe they're not a good tipper, or maybe they just in general just weren't very pleasant to work with. So if you are busy, you can decide I'm not going to rebook this person, right? And then because you're busy, there's a really good chance that you're probably not going to see them again. One of the traits of new clients is that they tend to be last minute. So if people are booking, last minute, looking to book last minute with you and you're booked weeks out, months out, there's a good chance you're not going to see them again. And then you can also start to filter your existing clients. So let's say you have a few clients that maybe you've been cutting for a while, but you just don't really, for one reason or the other, it doesn't always have to be new. Use this to filter out existing clients too. What you can do is like, let's say you have a client who this haircut always takes you 45 minutes. It always puts you 15 minutes behind because you only have 30 minutes for this example. And you can just decide, I'm not going to rebook him. I will see him again if he books with me, but I'm not going to go out of my way to rebook him, and I'm just going to see what happens. So when you do that, they could end up booking on their own and you could see them again, but there's a good chance that when they go to book again with you, they can't find a spot. So rather than firing them and telling them that you don't want their business, because it's not that you don't want to cut them, it's just that I'd prefer to fill my schedule with cuts that I can do that are pretty simple, that I can do pretty quickly. If I have a client who I know is really picky, he's just always puts me behind, always shows up late, for whatever one reason or the other, I'm going to be less likely to rebook that person, right? It's because I don't really want to see them again. But some barbers try to jump to that, I think, a little too early. And I think you have to earn that right. It's like with the schedule flexibility and not working weekends or not working evenings. These are the busiest times in the shop. So if you don't want to work weekends and evenings, that's fine. But you have to do the work first to earn that right. Because if you just go straight to not working weekend and you haven't developed enough of a clientele, enough of a following to support that, then you're just going to be really slow, right? You'll get there, but it's going to take longer because you're not working on the busier days. So I think if you're new, you definitely got to start working as much as possible. Definitely work in the evenings and on the weekends. And only when you get busy consistently can you then think about, maybe I should take weekends off so I can spend it with my family. Maybe I can not rebook this person because I don't really want to cut his hair anymore, you know? Let's talk about some of the cons when it comes to being busy. This is the main point of the video I wanted to make, because I think a lot of barbers don't realize that everybody starts off thinking, I want to be busy, I want to make really good money, and I want to be fully booked. When you're booked most of the time, 80+%, we'll keep using that number, that's going to mean that there is a period of time where you are spending hours and hours and hours in a row on your feet with no break. And sometimes you may even have to work through your lunch break. And I mean, it's easy to think about, especially if you're new to this industry, never work through my lunch break, blah, blah, blah. But if you have this guy that you've been cutting for years and you're fully booked, and the only time you can get him in today before his wedding that he told you about 2 months ago, but you forgot to rebook him, the only time you can get him in today is on your lunch break. A lot of barbers would do that. Not everybody, but a lot would. So there's going to be some cases, right? Because your whole day where you're normally working is booked. And even if you have a time blocked out for lunch, you might still have to squeeze somebody in during that time because there's no other time to get them in, right? So that's one of the cons of being a fully booked barber, is that you're going to just realize that there's going to be days that you go without a lunch break. There's going to be days where you've literally been standing on your feet for 9-10 hours straight just cutting hair. There's going to be another con, is that it may be difficult to even use the restroom, right? Because especially if you're struggling with staying on time for your appointments, and knowing that you go to the restroom real quick is going to put you behind, and so you just kind of hold it. It's like going to the bathroom even gets hard when you're a fully booked barber. So a lot of people don't realize that, but especially if you're not working in an appointment-based shop and it's just a bunch of walk-ins sitting there waiting, and some of them have been waiting for 2 hours, like, are you just going to go on your lunch break and leave somebody there? Some people would. I would feel bad about doing that, but you know, it's one of the things that I think barbers don't think about. When you're getting really, really busy, these things start to become something as easy as like going to the bathroom or just getting off your feet for a few minutes or getting a snack. That becomes way more of a challenge as you get busier. Another one of the cons for being a busy booked barber is that clients are actually going to start to get angry with you. And because everybody loves it when their barber, everybody loves to support their barber in the beginning until it becomes inconvenient for them. So what I mean by that is clients are going to start trying to book with you and they can't. So they want, and in a lot of cases, they're going to try to be loyal to you and reach out to you personally, and they might call you or text you or message you on social media. I didn't see any spots available. Can you squeeze me in? And you're like, no, I'm booked. So they start getting mad at you, right? Or maybe they do have an appointment with you, but you're so booked and they show up like 15-20 minutes late, and your next appointment's already here and you're fully booked for the day and you can't get them back, and you have to turn them away. Man, if you've never been through this before, it's coming. You're a busy barber, clients are gonna get mad at you for being that busy, right? Because they want you to succeed, but not at their expense. So at the end of the day, we're here for them. You can't get them in, they're going to start to get frustrated with you. That means you're going to end up losing clients. Eventually, it's going to translate to you're going to be losing clients, because not everybody is going to be willing to go along the ride with you. There's going to be some people that you start with, right? These are usually the people that are like walking in or booking their appointments same day. You were available, right? Because you were just getting started. But as you get busier, you have to then either train the clients to behave differently, you have to behave differently, or both, right? Because now they can't book with you the same day anymore. They can't walk in. They have to start planning their haircut days in advance or weeks in advance or even months in advance. And not everybody is going to be able to adapt to that. So you have to realize that once you start to become a busy barber, you're going to start to lose clients. And the type of clients that you're going to keep are going to be different than the ones that you started with, because the ones you started with are not the people that plan their haircuts in advance. They just aren't. That's how you met them. And that you need those people to get started. But some of those people are not going to be willing to plan their haircut a month in advance. You're just going to have, that's just part of the game, right? And then they're going to end up going to somebody else who needs that business in the beginning. So there's different types of clients for different types of barbers. The clients that are willing to be loyal to their barber and are willing to plan their haircut in advance and understand that you can't get them in last minute are totally different than the clients that just want it done today and they don't care about who. Another one of the cons for being a busy barber is that it's going to become more difficult to take time off. So you have flexibility in your scheduling in that you can work pretty much whatever days you want and be busy once you're past a certain point. But the problem though is if you start to get booked weeks out, months in advance even, it starts to become difficult to take time off, because if your schedule is open that far out, clients can book that time before you get a chance to block it off. So maybe you have an important like family thing, or you just want to take a vacation. It gets a little bit more difficult to do that if you're booked that far out. So that's one of the cons of being a busy barber, is that you have to be now even more proactive with your schedule, and you can't plan things last minute anymore when it comes to time off. You need to start knowing 2-3 months in advance if you're going to take a day off, because your clients need to know that so that they don't book it. If you decide to take a day off, now you have all these appointments that you need to move. So keep that in mind. And those are just some of the pros and cons of being a busy barber. There's a lot more than that, but those are the three that those are some of the ones that I see come up the most. And I promise you, hopefully you're not one of these barbers, but there is such a thing as being too busy. But I think that you should just know what you're getting into. So if you want to be a busy barber, know that it's going to come with, everything has a cost, right? And usually the cost of being busy means there's less options for you. So, you can't take its time off last minute anymore. You're going to have to realize that your feet are going to probably be sore at the end of the day because you've been cutting all day. You're going to have to realize that it's going to come at the cost of clients. Maybe clients that you've been cutting for years are going to stop coming to you because now you're too busy for them. And if you're okay with that, then that's fine. And if you don't want to be busy, that's also fine. But just don't be one of those barbers that say you want to be fully booked all the time, and then it happens, and then you start complaining that you're like overworked or burnt out, because this is the cost. And this is why I'm making this video. This is the cost of being a busy barber. So if you want more help and you want access to videos and courses that aren't public, and you want to network with other like-minded barbers and hairstylists, I'll put the link in the description to my community below. I hope to see you there.